Are we somehow in more uncertain times than we were previously? Is it the technological cycle? Is that what's driving this?
You look at the amount of cash on balance sheets, you look at the amount of buybacks instead of investment. I mean, it all points to the fact that in general, people are risk averse. But there's a difference between being risk averse and what I would call unfamiliar averse. A lot of what feels risky is actually unfamiliar because we're operating in a completely different world on some levels. So, for example, and those things can be learned, they can be researched, and people can learn attitudes and skill, how to manage in a time like that. For example, cash used to be hoarded because it was scarce. Skills, people used to say, well, if I have to go through a recession, I can let go of some people. Not anymore. Cash is actually abundant right now and is likely to be so for a while. And skills, especially engineering, plant science, and so on, are scarce today to the tune of 10 million open positions that cannot be filled in the world. And some predictions will say 45 to 95 by the end of the decade if education doesn't change that. And people don't change what they want. So not moving because of something that is uncertain, which is truly the unknown, is never a good thing. And there you can do some analysis on what might the risks be. Not moving because of things that are unfamiliar and you haven't bothered to learn how to operate in them, I think is really a crime. And I think that is a pretty important distinction to take.
Martin, did you want to respond to that?
Well, I just want to add to your question that the driver of return is risk. And before anyone takes any risk, you have to have a reasonable expectation on the return you're going to generate. And as we have at the moment not enough clarity as a function of the economic crisis on what return you could expect, it is very, very difficult in order to be very gutsy about it. If you look at corporations, probably their cash positions are as high as ever, yet they are not being invested because we are moving from an economic crisis right now into a crisis of confidence for business leaders, political leaders, which needs to be balanced. And I think we still have to do some work in terms of getting this confidence back and clarity, what the changes, what they really mean for business in order to be able to have a reasonable return expectation, and with that as well support risk-taking.
So if I can stay with that for just a second, when you get the majority of the economy predictable, you're going to get faster job growth and you get the companies investing more. Actually, the best return for companies is when things are really going the wrong way and you're willing to go against the tide. Clay, you've probably seen that in companies out of Silicon Valley and around the world. So I'd actually argue as a business leader in this group, your chance to break away is now as opposed to 12 months from now when hopefully the governments get more predictable with their policy. So it's risk-reward again.
I just want to bring in a different perspective from an emerging market, India, which was unique. That when I went back after business school, Clay, to India, all I found was certainty because we were a regulated economy. And I think people tend to forget that when you are in a licensed Raj, as we used to call it, when you're in a socialist-driven economy where certainty is the norm, you hunger for uncertainty because you are not, that's what you were taught to deal with. I thought that's what you taught us in business school, how to deal with uncertainty, right? So, you know, I think all this talk about uncertainty, I thought that was our profession. We have to deal with that. And please, don't look for certainty. It's regulated autocratic economies that look for certainty. I want no part of it.